Whether you're an adult or a teenager, let's get back to your childhood, the time of your growing up. Our parents, teachers, and overall more mature people than us used to criticize us when we did something bad. Let's say forgot to do homework or took our parents' car without their permission. Oh, forgetting to take meat out of the freezer is also a good example. That one was way too stressful. Hence, try to remember how that affected your mental being. Getting criticized won't make your behavior nor habits any better. Instead, criticizing wakes up anger and defensiveness, and that often leads to spite taking over. Criticizing people, always complaining about their acts, won't get you near to being an authority. People you criticize will get a bad opinion about you, which will continue to spread if you don't stop. So today, I'm going to get closer to you about how criticizing affects people, how it changed history, and what you should do the next time you're thinking about criticizing someone in order to pull the best out of them. I'm ready whenever you are, but first, drop a like. Let's go. There's a saying, criticism is a reflection of who they are, not who you are. It's what people who don't understand or don't want to accept use while trying to set an authority. So remember, behind any destructive criticism almost always hides ignorance or denial. Every human being has stories they tell no one. These stories and experiences are the reason why they take a specific, unusual road. Once a destructive individual finds out about the mistake they've made, they start criticizing without knowing a full story and without putting themselves in the shoes of the person they're criticizing. This type of criticism is well known to us nowadays. But there are plenty more types, and some of them are way too toxic. One of them is known as projectile criticism. It's when people who are craving something the other person has find arguments to make that person look bad. A French writer, Jules Renard, once said, "Our criticism is to reproach the other of not having the qualities that we believe we have." I never saw an expensive supercar passing without hearing someone say, "Ugh, that car is so loud. Those people drive like they own the road," or something like it. I know that person would sell their soul just to own that car, but because they're not working as smart as the person owning it, they'll say anything just to make that person look bad, avoiding the acceptance of not being as good. Let's get back to the type of criticism that may be a reason why you will never be able to lead the group. What happens if you stop criticizing people? You will start building empathy towards your group. It can be a friend group, your employees, your army, your anything. Once you have enough empathy to have a conversation with someone in which you will be a good listener and good conversationalist, you will unlock the full potential of that individual. That person will want to spend more time with you, listen to your orders if you're leading an army, be more productive if you're running a company, and you will be viewed as someone who is open, welcoming, and willing to listen. Their safe spot. But if you continued criticizing them, that soldier would feel embarrassed in front of a whole army and his confidence would quash. So would his feeling of need to defend the country. That employee wouldn't be nearly as productive as he can be, and your friends would soon stop hanging out with you. I always wondered, what gives people the right to criticize someone? If you want to warn someone about their acts or mistakes, it's always better to do it in a friendly way. Simply express your opinion through a friendly talk, but first make sure that person actually wants to hear it. If you force them to listen to your opinion, they may feel like you're criticizing them. Next time you're about to criticize someone, just remember how Abraham Lincoln decided not to criticize an army general who did the very opposite of what he was told to do and gambled away the chance to end the American Civil War. It all happened in the Battle of Gettysburg. George Gordon Meade, better known as General Meade, fought against the army of Robert Edward Lee, whose army was known as Lee's Army. This battle was fought during the first 3 days of July 1863, and on the night of July 4th, heavy raindrops started knocking on soldiers' helmets. That's when Lee's defeated army started to retreat, but soon an impassable river was standing in front of them. Going back wasn't an option. Getting in the hands of a victorious Union army led by General Meade isn't any better than drowning. The then President of America, Abraham Lincoln, saw this as a golden opportunity to capture Lee's army. This would immediately end the war. Lincoln ordered Meade not to call a council of war, but to attack Lee immediately. He demanded immediate action. But General Meade did the very opposite. He called a council of war and violated Lincoln's orders. He did anything he could just to procrastinate. General Meade simply didn't want to directly attack and kill Lee's army. He waited for the waters to recede and let Lee and his army escape. When Lincoln heard this, he was safe to say furious. He cried to his son Robert, "Great God, what does this mean? We had them within our grasp and only had to stretch forth our hands and they were ours. Yet nothing that I could say or do could make the army move. Under the circumstances, almost any general could have defeated Lee. If I had gone up there, I could have whipped him myself. Lincoln was furious and disappointed. He sat down and wrote General Meade a letter that was tantamount to the severest rebuke. But Meade never got that letter. How and why? Lincoln put the letter aside and decided not to send it. In his past, he learned from bitter experiences that harsh criticism never works. After he wrote it, he probably thought how easy it was for him to sit in the peace of the White House and order Meade to attack, while he was listening to the screams and shrieks of the wounded and dying. If the president sent this letter, it would relieve his feelings, but on the other side, it would make Meade try to justify what he did. It would arouse hard feelings and kill his motivation. Always ask yourself, what would I do if I was in his shoes? By avoiding criticism, complaints, and condemnation, you will be viewed as someone who is open, welcoming, and willing to listen. And if you watched my previous video, you'll know how important listening is. Criticizing people also tend to have a lack of self-control since it's needed to be understanding and forgiving. The mindfulness to pause and reframe your response is critical if you want to become an empathetic person everyone can rely on for a sympathetic ear. In order to become a less critical person, try being a more positive person. Criticism is seen as a negative trait, and your positiveness will automatically overpower it. When someone only complains all the time or is critical, he starts draining everyone's batteries. If your goal is to become a leader, then provide your group with a balance of accountability and empathy. Remember, accountability starts with yourself and then trickles down to your group. Being less critical is more about empowering your team and building confidence, which is impossible to do with any criticism, since criticism is known to be a conversation killer. Even though you're a leader now, you can't let your group do all the work and only take credit. It's crucial to be known as a team player who supports others, coaches, and always has a smile on his face even when things are tough. Since sometimes we can't avoid getting criticized, we must learn how to take them. Remember how empathy is used instead of criticism? Well, it can also be used against criticism since it's a powerful antidote to anger. So, next time someone starts criticizing your acts, just stay empathetic. Then you will notice that it is not worth worrying about their words. What others think of you is their reality, not yours. Those people judge you based on their own experiences, values, and criteria, not according to yours. If they were put in your shoes and traveled down your road, they'd probably think very differently. Therefore, assume that these criticisms are really just opinions, neither more nor less. But when it comes to destructive criticism, the most convenient thing is usually pretending not to hear. These personas usually aren't open to dialogue. If they were, instead of judging and attacking, they would show a much more respectable attitude. Now, after you have watched this video, combine it with the things you learned from my previous two videos. That combo will make you so powerful in every aspect of your life.